In the last 10 months, I've built an 8-figure consulting business. These are the 4 things that have contributed to my success. So number 1, hiring. 85% of my success came from hiring. Everyone will tell you you need to learn this skill and that skill to run a successful business. I'll tell you what, I hire people smarter than me. Think about the best billionaires and the most successful people in the world. Are they sending emails? Are they making phone calls? Are they going door to door knocking? Absolutely not. What they're doing is spending their time thinking and hiring the right talent that can execute their plan. So what do? Find the tasks that make me the least amount of money, find somebody who can do them way better, and hire them, and focus only on the tasks that are making me the most amount of money. That way I free my time, free up my mental space, and I'm able to perform at a high level and hire more people so that we're expand the team so that our level of efficiency is just through the roof. Now that I've explained how important it is to hire the right person, I'm going to break down the exact process on hiring and building an 8-figure team. Now, business is broken down into 3 different sections, and for each section, you want to hire somebody completely different. You can't expect to hire somebody in one section and that person be good at every other section. Those sections are broken down into marketing, sales, and product. Marketing being driving more traffic, driving more customers to your business. Sales being who is actually hopping on the call, what are we doing to convert somebody from an interested lead to an actual paying customer, and product, which is either our physical product or our service that we're giving to other people. How are we improving that product? Who can we hire to help us make that product better every single day? With each section comes completely different skills. Now, to get into it first, I want to get into marketing. There are 2 sides of marketing in itself. There's the organic side and the paid traffic side. Organic is going to be mostly YouTube videos, Instagram videos, things that are essentially free to post on social media. But on the other hand, you have paid traffic, which is ads and VSLs and things of that nature. These pieces of content are going to be a little bit different because you're putting money towards it. So you have to be a lot more strategic with how you actually build those out and who you're actually hiring to work on those things. Since your marketing dollars are going towards it and you're spending money every single day to drive leads, you don't want to be wasting money on potential leads that didn't convert because of a bad ad or because of a bad landing page. For the organic side, I'm always looking for somebody who is a little bit more on the creative side, somebody who has that touch, who can repurpose content, repurpose different things that we've already used to then drive more traffic, become more viral, or just nurture people in general through our organic side of traffic. Now, with the paid side, it's a little bit different. I'm looking for somebody who is really skilled when it comes to copywriting, sales writing, and somebody who knows and is very intentional on the words they use, the content that they put out, and how that content is going to play into the rest of the ecosystem to then convert leads into actual paying customers. So when it comes to hiring those types of people, I'm always looking for somebody who's very motivated, somebody who sees the vision, somebody who takes ownership of the company as much as we do. And with that and a little bit of training, they're able to ramp up into something big. Now, on the sales side, it's a little bit different. The person you're considering hiring is somebody who's motivated and hungry at all times. The worst thing that can happen to your business is that you hire somebody, they make a really big paycheck on their first month, and then their second month, they're completely comfortable and they don't want to work as hard because they just made a lot of money. Why work even harder to make the same money? So you always want to find somebody who's not necessarily tied to the numbers in itself. Yes, it's a big goal that everybody works towards, but who is working for something greater than just money? Who is working for an internal purpose that you can then drive and you can use that to then help them through your business by bringing them more money, if that makes sense. And by framing everything like that, then you start to find people who are really actually passionate about, number 1, what they do and why they do it, the actual business that you're running. Are they bought into it and are they willing to buy that product themselves to get results? The way I found most of my success when it comes to hiring these people is actually through either the platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed, and Glassdoor, or actually working with a sales broker that does most of the heavy lifting for us, brings us the talent, and then we're able to start the interview process and see if they're a good fit for what we have going on. I highly recommend using a sales broker if you're able to afford it, because it just allows you to present all the information that you have, and they're the ones that are going to be in the trenches looking for people and hiring talent. One thing to keep in mind is that if you want to attract high-level talent, the 8-figure A-team players, you have to have an A-team scenario or an A-team vision, right? And what that means is that if your actual company does not have a true meaningful purpose and there's no long-term vision with the actual company, most of these higher end, very successful, hardworking, driven people are not going to gravitate towards your business because you're not showing them stability. You're not showing them a future. You're just showing them, hey, this might work for 2-3 months, and then after that, I don't know what's going to happen with you. And most people don't want to live based off of that fear. They want to live in a state of abundance and constantly winning and trying to get the next deal. So you always want to make sure that's all in check. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I've been able to attract 18 players is because I have taken a lot of pride in my business and I'm able to sell the dream to them as well. Show them what's possible and show them why we're actually doing the things that we're doing. And the more they get bought in and the more that they start to have conviction in the actual product, it working, it changing people's lives, the more they're going to want to sell it themselves. Sales is about helping other people and not necessarily selling something in itself. And one thing about this, when you hire 18 players, you have to keep in mind that if you're starting it, most people are going to start to lose the vision if it's not very clear every single day. So that's completely fine. It's happened to me in the past before. What I've done is that I've gone on calls with people that are losing that conviction and losing that vision, and I'm able to realign them on the actual call, just getting them back on track and telling them, hey, we're going in this direction. It seems like we have some sort of disconnect. Usually it's because of the way they feel. And so we're able to open up about that and talk and discuss why our goals are misaligned, where we actually found that misalignment, and then figure out a solution for both of us to continue to progress towards that goal. And lastly is hiring somebody for product. The way I structure the team for the product that I sell is very simple. I have somebody who has the most knowledge, similar to a coach, similar to a very high level employee. And then right below that, I have somebody who's more on the technical side. So for me, my structure goes coach, client success manager, and VA. So what the coach does is that the coach has all the knowledge. They're able to help people at the highest level of understanding. And what that client success manager does is that they're a support to that coach. So they're almost in their own world in terms of the technical side, but when it comes to the more detail oriented things or the actual skillful process of the service that we're offering, they refer back to the coach. And then lastly is the VA really helps out with a lot of admin level tasks, and they're just a facilitator between the actual client success manager and the coach itself. So that process is very simple. Those types of people, it's the same as well. I go to LinkedIn for those people, speak around in my network, make some posts, and attract different people like that. The one thing you need to remember is that the bigger you grow and the more success that you get and the more you document, the more people are going to want to start working. To number 3, which is training them up. This process is very simple. I've done it multiple times, successfully and unsuccessfully. A lot of trial and error went into making sure that every single person that comes in, first off, is bought into the vision and also wants to be here, wants to give it their all so that they can reach their goals as well. It always starts with them. You never want to talk about what you want, because if they get what they want, you're going to get what you want. It's an agreement between you and that team member where they're going to put X amount of work in and you're going to get X result. So you always want to find what they're looking for in this relationship. That be time, money, skills they want to learn, things they want to experience with the company. Figure out what that is first for them and how you guys can map it out together. Because once they have a purpose and once you plan on a goal, then it's easier to obtain it. So you always want to find what they're looking for in this partnership. Is it something with time, something with money, something with skills that they want to learn? What can you provide to them first in exchange for their time and efforts? For me personally, all the team members that come into my business are mostly looking for 2 things: time and money. They want to make the most amount of money they've ever made, and they want to have the freedom to have their own schedule and execute at their own pace. We allow this. What I do is that I sit down with every single team member and I figure out what that monetary goal is. What's the specific number that you want to get to, and how can we get to that number together? What can I do to facilitate you to getting to? Then it becomes that way when they don't perform, it becomes more about helping them get back on track to their goals and and less about why aren't you doing this for the company. You want to have clear expectations of what their day-to-day should look like. What I do is I sit down with every team member and I map out a document with their schedule on a day-to-day basis. So if 8 a.m. they wake up, eat breakfast, 9 a.m. they're on their first call, 9 a.m. they're working with clients, I write that down in that document. That way, when we have this whole entire schedule and we have all these tasks that we're attacking every single day, we can just look back on that document and say, hey, at 8 p.m. or at 9 a.m., were you actually hopping on a call or were you actually working with X client? Because if not, then we have to realign yourself back onto your schedule to reach your goals. It allows for clarity between both of us. If I am wondering at any moment what that team member is doing, I can just look at that document and it should be very clear on what they're doing. I also make it a priority to have uncomfortable conversations very quickly. If something goes on in your business, the longer you wait to address it, the harder it is to change it. If you can address something very quickly, even if it's something as minor as the way they talk or the way they respond to certain messages, then they're able to correct it a lot quicker. The time between error and correction is very crucial. Alongside that, the frequency as well. If you tell somebody one thing and never mention it ever again, don't expect them to learn it and follow that. You have to consistently tell them over and over again. And part of what this document does is that when they look at it every single day, they start to create a habit for themselves of what they have to do, and it just creates ease on their end and on our end. Also, don't be afraid to check them. If they're doing something wrong, if you feel like they're not a great fit, address it to them. Tell them, hey, I've had multiple times where I've talked to my employees and I've said, hey, in the next 2 days, if you don't fix this, we're probably gonna get rid of you. And you should see the look on their faces. Most of these people think that once they got the job and once they pass the interview, that they have this job security. But in fact, we're actually going through a probationary period and a trial phase to make sure that they're actually a good fit for what we have going on. One thing is that they tell me they're good at X, Y, and Z and they have these characteristics, but I want to see it in person. I want to see it on the battlefield. How do they actually perform when things are a little bit difficult or not as planned? So I've had multiple conversations and it allows them to also understand that this is an exclusive opportunity and they shouldn't take it for granted because no one else on the team takes it for granted. If everybody eases off the gas, even myself, then it reflects onto them and they're not going to be able to perform at their highest level and take advantage of this opportunity. So never be afraid to check them and tell them, hey, you're doing this wrong, you need to fix this or else you're out of here. Good understanding of how business works, how this whole entire team works, how to succeed as a winning team and as a winning individual. So giving them the freedom to think on their own, to problem solve is going to be the best thing that you can do for them in the long run. In the beginning, it might be annoying for them. They might have to do extra work, but the whole point is to duplicate yourself and duplicate your thought process onto them. And if they're able to bring their unique insight and ideas to the table, now you have not just yourself thinking on the problem, but you have other people as well. So you never want to create a culture where they just bring problems to you and you solve them immediately. I've fallen victim of this multiple times where my team has said, hey, I don't know how to do this, or this person has said X, Y, and Z. And because I've already gone through it and I've experienced all these things, I just give them the answer very quickly because it's the fastest way to the solution. But what it's doing, it's hurting them because they're becoming dependent on me. I need them to become independent individuals where they all perform on their own and I don't need to give so much input. This is honestly one of the easiest parts. You're just managing people, understanding what they're good at and what they're not good at and how we can play to those skills, and also using their insights to benefit the company. They also have different experiences and different ways of doing things in the past that you can use for your own company to build it and almost take a little piece of every other company and build your massive company with those things. Honestly, this is probably one of the easiest parts, but what time is it? We gotta go, bro. We gotta go?
10,000? We gotta do at least 20. All right, so we just cut to brunch. Last thing we're 0.4, which is how to fire an employee once it's time to get rid of them. This is one of the things that I try to avoid the most, especially because I treat my hiring process very important. So I take my time with figuring out who's going to be the best fit. And sometimes I make wrong decisions and I bring on people that shouldn't be on the team. Not to say that they're bad people or they don't have the skills to be a part of the team. It's just that they're not the best fit for what we have going on. They can much better succeed in another offer or in another business. So what I do is I start off by being 100% clear with them. And this starts maybe 2 months in advance, 1 to 2 months in advance. And I give them a warning and tell them, hey, this is what we want to do. These are our goals. Are we aligned with our goals? If not, what can we change and how can I make sure that you succeed the most? And maybe sometimes it's just that they didn't even realize that they weren't doing the right things or that they weren't working in unison with the company and the growth for the company. You'd be surprised how many times I've had to have meetings with people where they just didn't necessarily understand. And part of my job is understanding that they don't understand, and that you have to consistently remind them because they have a million things going on as well. And your job is to have a million and one things going on and just help them stay on track and do their job best. So after you've had that warning with them, and they consistently continue to show that they're not changing and they're not able to be coachable, that's when we have to go on to the next part, which usually isn't the fun part, but it's just sitting them down saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking because of X, Y, Z. You always want to make it a very logical decision and show them based off of data, this is what just makes sense for the company, and ask them to put themselves in your shoes, right? If you're running a company and your whole entire growth and your whole entire objective is to consistently grow the company, and their position is just not allowing you to grow that company, then you just tell them, hey, in your eyes, what would you do to make this company grow even more? And what that does is allows them to start understanding why you're making the decisions that you're making. And it also gives them one more chance to do the right thing, become coachable, and change their trajectory so that you don't have to end up getting rid of them. But let's say they aren't willing to understand, they've become very selfish, and they just don't really care about anything but themselves. At that point, that's the final step in the firing process, which is looking for someone else or looking for another offer, or just looking into their skills and saying, and lastly, the final step. This is usually not the fun part, but what you do as the owner of your business or as a CEO is you look at their skill set and you look at where other offers and other businesses in your network and in your circle might thrive from having them on their team. And you always want to make sure that it is very apparent. And you also want to make sure it's very apparent that they're no longer going to be continuing with your company, but you want them to still succeed, and you think that it would be a much better fit if they had another company. Now, you can always provide them ideas and say, hey, you do really well in this. I think you should use that experience that you've gained with us to go talk to other business owners, or you might have somebody in your network that might thrive off of what they're good at, and you can make that recommendation for them. That way they feel like the decision is made out of their best interest and the company's best interest. Obviously, it's always going to be the company's best interest, and sometimes employees might feel like they're not being heard or not being considered when it comes to these decisions. They feel like they're just a cog in a system instead of a human being. But when you sit them down and you explain it logically to them and say, hey, for these reasons, I want you to succeed as much as possible, and I think I'm holding you back from succeeding in our business because we're misaligned. And you can succeed far more if you were in a business that aligned with your values, with your principles, and with your goals. Because at the end of the day, the reason why somebody isn't doing the work that they should be doing, and the reason why you would even get to that point, is because at one point in time, something in your system or something in your messaging or something in your company's mission and values isn't aligned with what they're doing. And so they either no longer have that spark to work extra hard for the growth of the company, or they just are uninterested in actually even associating with anything to do with what you have going on. So that's the root of why you would start the whole firing process with somebody. But once you get that all out of the way, it's pretty much smooth sailing. They completely understand. We try to end it off on best terms as possible. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes obviously they're going to get emotional. You have to come from their perspective as well. You always want to make sure that they're helped and that you leave a good impression on them, that they can't really say anything negative that you did towards them, and it was all just a logical decision based off of the growth of the company. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys understand how to hire somebody, and most importantly, how to fire somebody. This is very important. This is what's going to get you to that 7- and 8-figure mark as quick as possible. We did it in 10 months, and if I would have known this, I'm pretty sure we could have cut that down by a couple more months, probably 5 months. So best of luck. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. I'll see you guys on the next video.